created a giant Brussels sprout battery, harnessing the power of sprouts and converting it to electricity, enough to power the whole factory. That was when Scooter began to really experiment. He started with the jam slice, a bit like a cheese slice, but with jam, speeding up the jam sandwich making process by 68.2%. Next, jam smoothie capsules. Just add milk and create the most delicious jam smoothie. It was during the testing phase of the capsules that Scooter came up with Jam Ball, a bit like paintball, but with jam. The only problem with Jam Ball was that you really couldn't play it in wasp season. However, it had led to his latest invention, wasp-repelling jam. Still delicious, but absolutely repellent to wasps, allowing you to eat a jam sandwich in the height of summer with wasps flying right past you. McLay's jam was now considered to be the best producer of jam and jam-based inventions in the world. This was incredibly annoying for Daffy Dodgy, owner of Dodgy Donuts. Her wicked little eyes watched from her office at the top of a tall tower, wishing that she knew the secrets behind their success. But Scooter thought nothing of Daffy Dodgy. In fact, Scooter had an entirely different problem on his mind right now. A problem that his brain, full of ideas, hadn't found a solution to just yet. You see, Scooter desperately wanted a pet. But his parents had said no, and they didn't appear to be changing their minds. Not even a little bit. Every time Scooter suggested a different type of pet, their answer was always the same. No, Scooter, we're totally obsessed with factory hygiene, and actually, we're also really mean, so you can't have any kind of pet whatsoever for the rest of your life ever. Okay, so those weren't their exact words, but it was definitely something like that. That was why Scooter was now standing outside the steel door entrance to the Jam Inventions laboratory, holding a small snail in the palm of his hand. In Scooter's typically determined way, he decided to prove to his parents that actually he could look after a pet perfectly well. He'd found Gary in a bush 3 weeks ago and had been looking after him in secret ever since. Gary wasn't exactly the perfect pet. He had a bad habit of sliming onto Scooter's face when he was asleep. It was a bit gross. And he kept trying to escape out of the window. In fact, the only way that Scooter could keep him in one place was to put a strawberry jam sandwich on a plate at the end of his bed. Gary loved strawberry jam sandwiches. Scooter would definitely prefer a dog or a cat or even a shrimp. But once his parents knew that he'd actually been looking after a pet for 3 whole weeks without them even realizing, how could they refuse? This time, they had to agree. Chapter 2. Daffy Dodgy sat behind her desk, peering down at McLay's jam from her tower window. She could often be found doing this, one hand holding a telescope to her beady eye, the other stroking a fat white guinea pig that sat dozily on her lap. "How do they come up with all those ideas, Boris?" she wheezed. "What's their secret? What's inside that factory?" McLay's jam looked like an ordinary square building from the outside, but Daffy knew that inside it was something very special indeed. Not that anyone other than the McLays had ever actually been inside. Well, no further than the entrance hall at least. And that was only very occasional visitors, or perhaps the odd delivery driver. Daffy hadn't even gotten as far as the entrance hall. She'd tried to break in, of course. She'd plotted and schemed for years to get inside. But those dastardly McLays had foiled every attempt, increasing their security with each of her failures. Daffy glanced at the whiteboard, where some of her more recent break-in plans were listed. Jam stealing master plans. Number 1. Pretend to be a window cleaner. Foiled. Window alarmed. Number 2. Sneak into a delivery van. Foiled. Scanner on all vans. Number 3. Attach a spy camera to Boris and post him through the letterbox. Foiled. Boris too fat. Number 4. Break through...